Mary. It's so great to have Mary on our team. She always takes really good care of us, and we really appreciate it. We would like to recognize and thank our Board of Governors, our Board of Directors, our Chamber Ambassadors, our Chamber Gold sponsors, and this event's title, sponsor and table sponsors, which are being broadcast on our screens today. So hopefully you took a look at that. Normally I go through and do a lot of announcing, but today we have a very special program and we wanted to keep it, my announcements a little shorter. We'd like to extend our welcome to our newest Board of Governors, Sam Maloof with Maloof and Randy Fisher from Alta Bank. If we are ready, we'll do the two raffles. If I've got some runners to bring me the raffle prizes. All right. Thank you, Anne and Laura. They've done a lot of work today for this event, so if you just want to shake it up over here. So we have Mace Mullen from America First Credit Union. Come on up, Mace. Okay. And the gift cards today were donated by Cafe Sabor. Angie Bear, you are the winner of our second raffle. Come on up. You can run it back to her. All right, we have some special presentations today, so bear with us, but go ahead and enjoy your lunch. When it's served, you don't need to wait because we're going to be doing our annual Chamber Awards. Normally every year you would be in this room and the back walls would be out and we'd all be dressed up in our best attire and sitting at round tables celebrating our annual gala and our awards, but we decided, because of COVID, we better not do that this year. We will have it again next year. But we've decided to do a few special things. So we went ahead, we took our nominations, we put it out to our board to vote for the winners of our annual Chamber Awards. And we've invited all of those award recipients to come and join us today. So we're excited. We're going to be reading a little bit about each one of them. And so if I could have, yes, Michael, Jewel, and Vicki come up first. We're going to get started, and first of all, Michael Jewell has been the chair of the chamber in that lovely year of 2020. So Michael, I'm going to let you start.
I don't have much to say other than what a turbulent year, and we had fantastic leadership with Jamie. I guess I can take that down to speak. And the chamber is as strong as it's been. So thank you to Jamie and our amazing staff. And you're in fantastic hands with Vicki. So Vicki, I'll give this to you. And I'll just turn it over to you. Thank you.
Okay. And if you want to stay right here in that session. And then we always do a special service award for our past chair. So we wanted to present this to Michael Jewell. He not only did he serve as chair last year and past chair for this year, but the way our executive board works, they're on the board for 4 years. Is that how it goes? Vice president, chair-elect, chair, and past chair. So 4 years of service to Michael Jewell. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Can we do it after? I missed our new members. Do you want to do it after or do it right now? Let's since we've got our team up here, we'll push the new members till right after we do our rest of our chamber awards. So I'm going to turn the time now to Vicki. There's going to be a few of us announcing the winners and telling a little bit about each one. So if you're the winner, if you'll please come up, accept your award, and then if you'll just stay up here, we'd like to get a group picture. And then afterwards, if you'd like to get pictures, with your friends and family that came with you today, that would be great. So I will let Vicki start with our first chamber award.
Okay, thank you, Jamie, and thank you everyone for attending. I'm very excited for this year. I know last year we kind of had like Michael said, a little turbulent year, but the chamber just pushed forward, and I was very proud of Jamie and her staff. So this year, I want to give the outstanding youth leader to Nate Peterson.
Young leader.
Young leader.
Young leader, not youth. He's not really a youth.
Oh, sorry. He is.
He is over
He
18.
is. Yeah, outstanding young leader. Back on March 19th, 2020, when the pandemic was surfacing in Cache Valley, Nate Peterson, HR Director for Gosner Foods, was putting together an email chain to send to many HR professionals in the Valley. He started his email out with, "I am grateful to be a part of such an important network in times like these. Our collective knowledge and experience is our strength." He knew that many of the companies in the Valley were trying to come up with strategies and procedures to help slow the spread of the coronavirus in the workplace and communities. This email started by Nate brought a lot of companies together to share different techniques, practices for local businesses. Nate was nominated by me as the young leader of the year because of his integrity and genuine care for the business community. Nate obtained a bachelor's degree at Utah State University and has since worked in human resource field. Nate, for the past 12 years, he has served in various capacities of the board of the Bridgerland chapter of the Society of Human Resource Management, including chapter president. So with that, I just want to give this wonderful award to Nate Peterson.
Our next award goes to the Cache Valley Veterans Association. So if the representative could come up, Phil, if you're here, come on up. Oh, there you are, Phil. And it's for a special recognition for the Dan Gillenskog Veterans Resource Center. So Cache Valley Veterans Association is a 501c veterans nonprofit who provides services and projects to assist veterans here in Cache Valley and the community, which includes Rich and Box Elder counties, along with Franklin and Oneida counties. This is a veterans serving veterans organization. The programs, projects, and services are provided to the approximately 15,000 veterans locally, as well as many active service members and their families. The new VA clinic which will open in mid-March. Are you getting close? They're getting close. And it will become the home base for numerous services and resources to the many veterans, service members, and their families in Cache Valley. This center will be the first of its kind in the Mountain States region. It will support and collaborate between two departments of Veterans Affairs, regional offices, along with assisting and aiding veterans in need. This Veterans Resource Center has been dedicated and named after our very own veteran of Cache Valley, Dan Gillenskog, who was a former Vietnam Marine. He took it upon himself to follow his own mission of no veteran left behind, in which we will continue to follow on his behalf and his family's behalf. So this, I think, is well deserving. We've been so fortunate to be connected with the Veterans Association, donating and raising money for them with our golf tournament every year. So we're so glad to honor them today.
Congratulations.
Our next award goes to New Small Business Award goes to the White Pine Funeral Services. And Mark Thurston, if you'll come up. White Pine Funeral Services could not be more grateful to open their doors and offer services to the families of Cache Valley. Their commitment is to serve each family as if they were their very own. At White Pine, they value compassion, integrity, and service. They offer assistance throughout the entire process, including pre-planning, the funeral and cremation services, headstones and memorials, aftercare services, and grief counseling. While it's always hard losing a loved one, they are here to make the process as easy as possible by taking care of all the details and assisting every step of the way. They've even donated their services to those with documentation of prepaid funeral arrangements from the previous owners. White Pine Funeral Services, they're here when you need us most. That's their tagline. So congratulations. Okay, I have to have a little drink before this next one, because this is a special award that I think we should have given this award many years ago, and maybe we've already given them an award, but this is for the outstanding family-owned business, and that goes to Beaver Mountain. So Marge Seeholzer, if you'd just come up. Beaver Mountain is truly a family affair. It's the longest continuously run family-owned ski area in America, dating back to 1937, and all in the Seeholzer family. The present matriarch, Marge, a second-generation member of the family, still runs the ticket office and always has a welcoming smile for guests who have been returning for decades, which, by the way, she had to take a mad dash from Beaver Mountain because they just started selling their season passes today, and then she's got to run right back up there, but we're so glad she could take a few minutes to come down here. Marge's and Ted's sons, Travis and Jeff, manage the resort with their families. Beaver Mountain was the dream of Harold Seeholzer, Marge's father-in-law. Born in 1902, Harold loved the outdoors. Long before there was a road built in Logan Canyon, he would accompany his father, a game warden, deep into the canyon on homemade skis for work adventures. When Harold Seeholzer started Beaver Mountain, his dream was to create a place where people could bring their families together and teach them to love to ride as much as he did. As generations of the Seeholzers worked in every aspect of the resort from then until now, they have continued and have that singular focus, making families feel at home so they can continue to create great memories with every single visit. And I just have to insert this here because I had some very great memories with my children and enjoyed several seasons of skiing at Beaver Mountain. Walk into the Beaver Mountain ticket office on a blizzardy day in January and two things will be sure. You'll see a lot of happy skiers ready to spend the day on their mountain, and Marge Seeholzer will be there greeting them. It's my favorite part of the job, Marge said. The people, generations of family coming to have fun. And she does know generation after generation, don't you, Marge? Yes, she does. Travis sums up the family feeling. We're a pretty small community up here, and that's what makes it really enjoyable, an enjoyable job for our employees. You do get to know the guests very well because you see the same people every week, year after year. A lot of second and third generation families enjoy Beaver Mountain and feel some ownership in it. Not necessarily because it's a family-run business, but because of all the families that have grown up loving to ski the Beav. Give Marge a hand. Okay, and now I'm going to let David Zook, who is our new county executive. He offered to help us today. He's also been the chair of the chamber board a few years ago when I first started. So we're just thrilled to have him here today, and he's going to help us out with the next three.
Thank you, Jamie. It's an honor to be here to recognize some important people in our community, and the first one of those is going to be a special recognition for the Cache Valley Center for the Arts and for the Random Acts production. And Wendy Hassan, would you please come forward? Let's give Wendy a hand. Wendy Hassan directs the Cache Valley Center for the Arts, which is the designated local arts agency for Logan City and Cache County. She and her nimble team of highly collaborative, multi-hat wearing staff members manage the Ellen Eccles Theater, Thatcher Young Mansion, and Bolin Arts Center on behalf of the citizens of Logan and Cache County. In addition to honoring Cache Valley's vaudeville roots by engaging a season of nationally touring artists each year, Cache Arts typically hosts more than 50 arts organizations who serve more than 110,000 patrons each year. Wendy loves serving on the Cache Valley Visitors Bureau Advisory Board with amazing colleagues in the tourism and hospitality industries. She also serves on the boards of Cache Children's Choir, Arts Northwest, Logan Rotary Club, Utah Presenters Network, Logan City Public Art Advisory, Center for Persons with Disabilities Community Advisory, and the Conference Planning Committee for the Association of Performing Arts Professionals. In the summer, the theater opened with a hyper-local bootstrap series of easily cancelable performances called Random Acts, community performances. They held 10 in July and August. Audiences ranged from 13 to 130, and format ranged from cowboy rock to street mime and magic to musical review. In December, they held a second round of Random Acts, including Cowboy Christmas, the Benson Sisters, the high school band, New York, and Scott and Katie Francis Fuss, who were touring with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory before the pandemic brought them home to Cache Valley. They reached a whole new audience, adding about 450 new patron records to our database. One patron record per party meant that they probably had 1,000 new audience members. I think this is especially important to recognize Wendy for this, because last year, when we had the pandemic and so many things shut down, she kept it going. Cache Valley is really known for the arts, and she was one of the few around the country who continued to perform and to bring performances in. I especially personally really liked the Christmas performances, because that's such a tradition. So many people love to see Christmas performances, which was really hard to find unless you knew Wendy. So thank you, Wendy. Let's give her. The next award I have the honor of presenting is for the Outstanding Woman of the Year. Lizette Villegas, would you please come forward? Lizette has been the Minority Outreach Coordinator and Community Organizer for more than 10 years at the Family Place. Through hundreds of community events each year, Liz promotes inclusion, service, diversity, public health, and public participation. The many boards and coalitions Liz has served on shows the broad reach she has in our member of the Logan Public Library Council, the Cache County Suicide Prevention Coalition, USU Cache County Extension, and USU Latinx Creative Society, and more. Liz taught mental health first aid as a certified instructor and has taught parenting classes in Spanish and in English. In 2018, Liz earned the Diversity Award from Utah State University for being an outstanding community advocate. Liz is a trusted mentor, advocate, and friend to everyone she meets, but especially for the Latino members of our community. Liz's passion, sense of fairness, and tireless dedication inspires those who know her. Let's give Liz a round of applause. Okay, we've got a big one now. It's now my honor to introduce the Citizen of the Year for the Cache Chamber of Commerce. Jack Nixon, would you please come forward? Jack Nixon has lived in Cache Valley for the past 62 years. He and his wife Charlotte raised their 5 children here. He received his bachelor's degree at Brigham Young University in marketing, business management, financing, and banking. And he continued his education here at Utah State University, receiving a master's degree in business administration. Jack is the ultimate business owner. He has owned over 30 businesses and still does today. He has businesses he operates today in land development, construction, property management, and is probably best known for his Century 21 NNN Realtors business. He is also a prolific developer. He has developed dozens of housing developments ranging from 5 lots to 154 lots. And those have been mostly in Cache Valley and Weber County, but as far away I know as Southern California. He is an active professional and very involved, and that's how I've gotten to know Jack over the years, through the Logan Lions Club in particular. But he's involved in many different civic, professional, and church organizations. He served on advisory boards for local banks, a member of the National Association of Review Appraisers, as a member of Land Use Committee of the National Board of Realtors. He was the past president of the Logan Board of Realtors and the Logan Lions Club, and was also president of the Northern Utah Home Builders Association, Utah Home Builders Association. He served 2 terms as chairman of the Utah Power and Light Consumer Advisory Board, just to name a few that he's been involved in. And I want to tell you a couple personal things about Jack too. He told me that every day he wakes up and he does 1 push-up for every year he is old. I heard it's beyond that now, that he's doing like 200 a day. Oh, he said he's working his way back now. So yeah, maybe he got up to 200, was working his way back down. But he goes to work every day, and I don't know if you know this, but Jack is going to be turning 90 here and in a couple of weeks, and he still goes to work every day. And Jack wants you all to come to his 90th birthday party. It's going to be on the 27th of this month at the Bluebird at 5:30. So I know he wants everyone to come and celebrate his 90th birthday party with them. He's an incredible leader, an incredible business leader, and he's an amazing man. Let's give Jack a round of applause.
We're going to take a picture. And then you award winners, there's a beautiful box here that will hold your award, and please feel free to stay around and take pictures with your family. Thank you, Alex, for keeping this a surprise. He brought Jack here. He had no idea why he was here. And so that just makes it so fun, doesn't it? Okay, I failed to acknowledge that we have a new members that we need to introduce. And so I'm going to have Jason Porter come up. We're going to take just a minute, and then I'll introduce our speaker for today. Oh, okay. I'm going to go take a picture.
Thank you, Jamie. So we had 3 new members join us this morning. So make sure you introduce yourselves once we're done and get to the networking part afterwards. So we have David McFarland from Hope Recovery and Healing, Chris Lifford from J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling, and Tyler Bingham from Les Olson IT. Go ahead.
Thanks. I'm David, and this is my partner, Jennifer Quinlan. We're with Hope Recovery and Healing, and we're in the business of saving lives through addiction and mental health treatment. We are one of the first fully online mental health and addiction treatment centers in the state. And we offer services ranging from weekly therapy up to 9-hour-a-week intensive programming. We have a focus on resolving trauma. Trauma seems to be at the root of most mental health and substance issues, and our team specializes in discovering and resolving past trauma. We're also particularly concerned about the rising generation. Mental health is something that disproportionately affects those 18 to 29. In fact, this is you might call a pandemic even more pervasive than the coronavirus. 40% of our young people in that age group experience mental illness. Most of them do not receive treatment. Other adults are in a similar boat. 1 in 3 have a mental illness that is untreated, and 1 in 11 have an untreated substance use disorder. And so online programs like ours are just as effective, if not more effective in some instances, as traditional face-to-face programs. A recent Yale study showed that 67% of those who go through an online substance abuse program experience success, compared to 52% of traditional in-person programs. For mental health programs, it's the same. You can expect the same rate of effectiveness. And these young people that we are helping to treat are your children, your grandchildren, your friends, your employees. They need help and we're here for them. We'd love to work with you to get these people the treatment that they need. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Lyford. I'm owner of the J-Dog property here in Logan, or territory here in Logan. We specialize in large and small cleanups, both commercial and residential. Things as small as a refrigerator needs to be picked up, all the way up to house needs to be cleaned out, the property needs to be cleaned up. So yeah, part of what we do also is we take a lot of that stuff and we sort it out. My goal is to keep as much out of the landfill as possible. So we do sometimes have to take it up there, but we also do a lot of recycling and a lot of donations. And then some of the proceeds that we generate, try to give back. I've been working with Phil a little bit over the last couple months, and also taking things over to somebody's attic for just to keep the money local and to help local charities. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tyler Bingham. I'm with Les Olson IT. A lot of you guys have probably heard of Les Olson. We have always focused a lot on printers and copiers, but the last 5 or 6 years, we've had a lot of growth on our IT department and division. So we do really anything related to it. We focus on managed or outsourced IT, hardware, specific projects, anything related to that. An item that we've seen a lot of focus on lately, though, especially the last year or so, has been security, specifically ransomware. So quick stat, just a few years ago, I think it was every 40 seconds or so, there was a ransomware attack for small to medium-sized businesses. This year, they're projecting it every 11 seconds. So if that's ever, a question that you guys have or a worry, or if it's just your general network, those are items we can help with. Thanks. Again, it was Tyler, Les Olson IT.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's lunch. Thank you all for coming. It's just so great to see the room full, and I'm sure you're enjoying being together here as well. Heidi Bullock is truly a friend of the Chamber, and I believe she's already even received an award from the Chamber, hasn't she, as a Businesswoman of the Year. Heidi's the president and CEO of the Bullock Agency, a successful insurance brokerage that she and her husband Brett founded over 30 years ago. Heidi is a fierce advocate for women, and particularly for the advancement for women in the business arena. Having started her career and work life in the field of critical care nursing and then moving into the fast-paced world of insurance, Heidi has a unique perspective gained from 2 different career structures and will share ideas that will help enrich the workplace for both men and women. Heidi's spoken to many groups about women and education, finance and future planning, insurance and leadership. She served for 2 years on a marketing advisory council for a Fortune 500 company, helping them with strategies to recruit more women. She helped develop a women's business conference and professional women's roundtable in Cache Valley. She served on the boards of Women in Business, the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce, and a Cache Valley for Hope. And she's currently serving as a board of governors for the Cache Valley Chamber. So please welcome Heidi. Take my water.
Hopefully I can see what I've written here today. I want to congratulate all you award winners. It sounds like they're very well deserved, and it's nice to see so many leaders here in the Valley in one room. I'm excited today to be able to talk to you guys about everything you always wanted to know about women in the workplace. Better get in front of the mic, huh? Everything you want to know about women in the workplace, and we're afraid to ask. The reason why I wanted to use that title was, one, a little bit provocative so that you guys would understand that there are some real advantage of having women in the workplace. And maybe sometimes we're not always comfortable talking about women in the workplace and working with women and women working with women. And so I wanted to be able to start a conversation, a meaningful conversation today about women in the workplace. And I want to also emphasize the importance of the equity and value of having women in the workspace. I have an opportunity to have those two different career paths that I've chosen. One in critical care nursing, I spent 10 years, and simultaneously creating an insurance business with my husband. Now, how that started, just coincidentally, my husband loves to tell this story, is that when I was working night shifts as a nurse in a high stress environment, I would watch him go out in 2 hours and be able to make the same amount of money that I was making on a 12-hour night shift. And I thought, if he could do that, what would stop me from doing it with my health background? And maybe I could even do it better. So we decided to start an insurance agency and over 30 years ago. And I'm pleased to know that he's probably the best partner that I could have in marriage and also in business. So this experience has given me quite a bit of insight into women in the workplace and some of the things and challenges and barriers that we face being in the work environment. Wayne Dyer said that when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. And so I see a lot of business leaders in this room today, male and female. And my wish today is that you could extract at least one idea that you can take back to your business and change the environment or the culture if it needs to be changed. And so that you can become better employers, business owners, and leaders in business. Let's look at some data. 50.9% of the US population is women. 47% of the workforce, labor force, is women. And 52.5% of women are part of the college age workforce. They earn more than 57% of all undergraduate degrees and 50% of all master's degrees. They earn 48.5% of law degrees and 47.5% of all medical degrees. And they earn about 38% of all MBAs. And although women hold 52% of all management and professional level jobs, American women lag substantially behind men in leadership positions in their businesses and on the pay scale. To give this a little bit more context, if we were to take an average woman in an average job, working full-time year-round, on average, they make $10,000 less than their male counterparts for the same type of job. If you were to put that over a 40-year period and there weren't any other changes in the wage gap, that would mean that women would earn as much as $407,000 less in their work lifetime than their male counterparts. In Utah, that wage gap is a little bit more significant than what I've even told you. The gap has been further heightened in this last year because of COVID. Women are finding themselves having to leave their jobs because they're primary caregivers. They became now homeschoolers, and they're also taking care of the elderly in their family. And this is a unique position that women often find themselves in. They're predicting, some of the statisticians are predicting that this 1 year could have set women back in the wage gender gap about 10 years. And we're hoping today, and through a lot of different discussions about this in the future, that we can actually change this and narrow that gap again. Well, there are numerous factors for disparity in wages and in leadership roles, should be acknowledged, and we should be talking about it. I'll only have time today to talk about a few of those items and what we can do to create change in our own work environment. One of the very first things, and it's kind of a hard discussion to have, is we do need to recognize there's gender bias in the workplace, and it still exists. We've come a long way in the years that have come, but there's still a long way to go. And that might be including stereotyping and hardened gender roles that we still feel that we have today. Culture may have some degree of emphasis in that, but I want to share a couple of examples on why this means a little bit something to me. I was raised in a family of all girls. We were raised without any real being told that we had to be girly or wear pink or all that. But we learned how to hunt, we learned how to fish, we learned how to dig coastals and haul hay. And I was told there was nothing that I couldn't accomplish and that I couldn't do. And so when I went to school, I got my bachelor's degree in nursing at Brigham Young University. And my last semester, I decided to do a critical care internship at a local hospital. I spent a lot of time, stayed long, came early, stayed late, learned the key things for that unit. I got a lot of accolades from the unit supervisor, who was a male, who said I was doing an excellent job. My nursing instructors told me I was doing well, and I felt on top of the world. I decided to apply for a full-time position with the hospital because I had already had the experience. I could start first day without having to go through any training because I'd spent the last semester being trained, essentially working all the different shifts in that hospital. At the same time, one of my nursing student peers, the only male in our class, decided also to apply for this position. Now, I knew my grades were higher than his. I had a Dean Scholarship. I was on Sigma Theta Tau, an honorary society of nursing. I had done everything that I knew. I had references from my professors, not only in nursing, but also in the university itself. And I felt really prepared to go in for an interview. Felt like the interview went really great, was really happy. And I was told a few days later that my male colleague was the one that received the job, the full-time job with benefits. And I was given the consolatory prize of a part-time job with no benefits. Now, I found this to be incredulous. I knew that I'd interviewed well. I knew that everything that was in place that I needed to have there, I knew I had the support of the other nurses on the unit, and I couldn't figure out why in the world I was given the part-time position instead of the full-time position. I went in and spoke with my male unit supervisor that did the interview, and I asked him, could you help me understand, was there something in my interview that I did wrong? Was there something in my performance that I did wrong? And without any hesitation, what he told me was, well, I'll call him Bob. Bob came in and he's married and has children and he needs that job more than you do. No hesitation. So no matter all my efforts of trying to do well, being early, being trained, ready for that position, I was now told that I couldn't do anything that I wanted to do, that I somehow, because of my gender, was at some disadvantage. Now, there may even be some people in this room, and it's okay, that may feel that that was all right, and maybe he did deserve that job because he had a family to support. But what they didn't realize that I was newly engaged and to be supporting 100% my husband through school. And I needed that job every bit as much as he did. But because I was a female and because I was young, he was awarded that position. So what I understood, I could get angry and take on a victim idea, but what I decided to do was I realized I got to work harder. I'm going to have to work smarter. And when I see obstacles like this, I'm going to have to go over them. And so that's what I did. Another kind of interesting thing that I want to share with you today is that my husband and I have been in business for 30 years. And it's always a great conversation starter when somebody asks us what we do, because when we tell them we're insurance, it's like, that everybody, the crowd kind of parts, because when you're an insurance agent, nobody wants to talk to insurance agents. But the very first thing that they do is say, you and your husband work together? How do you do that? I mean, that's crazy. I could never work with my husband. And I said, oh, that's no problem at all. And then the next question out of their mouth is, well, are you his secretary? And we get quite a kick out of this, actually. We've had it happen so many times now that Brett's very quick to say, oh no, I work for her. And that absolutely stops the crowd. Nobody knows what to say after that. They don't know how to handle that situation. And never once in the 30 years we've been in business together has anyone asked me if Brett's my secretary, ever. So there's still a little bias out there, guys, that we have to deal with. I'm also going to share, I hope I have a little time to share another story, and Brett has given me permission to share this story because it involves him. In our insurance business, we had a new manager come into town, a new sheriff that decided he was going to come in and shake things up. We were all in a meeting with a bunch of people, and this manager was talking about how he was going to take control of all these accounts that we actually had taken care of and actually brought to the table over 20-year history here in the Valley. And he said, I'm going to take these accounts and they're going to be owned by me and I'll decide what happens to them. And Brett, in not so kind words, and amongst some other people that were in the room at the time, basically called him a name that I can't repeat here, and also maybe threatened to, if he tried to do that, that he might be facing some legal action for what he was doing. Because he's really, this was kind of unethical, and it was really going to stir up things, and it wasn't to the benefit of our clients. Well, I decided to be a little bit more like Theodore Roosevelt and walk and speak quietly and carry a big stick. And so I asked to speak to the gentleman after the meeting and arranged to have a private meeting afterwards. Brett joined me on that meeting. And as we were sitting there, I said very carefully and very softly and very patiently to him, you know, I don't agree with what you're doing. I don't think this is good business sense for you to do this, because history has shown us that you're most likely not going to be here within a year. That's the history of new managers coming into town and trying to stir things up. Very nice. It wasn't anything, I would think, very egregious. The guy, could see him getting red, sweat coming down his face. He jumped up from his table, he slammed on the table, and he put his finger right in my face. And he said, and he used an expletive, that's a bunch of, and don't you ever say anything like that again. Now, simultaneously, while this was happening, I see Brett's chair slide away from the table. And I think everybody might think that he was about to get up and tell this guy a little something. Well, he did probably the most courageous thing he could have done. He was just getting out of the way because he knew something was coming for this guy. Okay? So I told him to get his finger out of my face, and I told him never, ever to speak to me that way again. And he did. He sat down. He was a little bit repentant for what he had done. But I found it really interesting and intriguing that my husband was very provocative in that meeting. And why didn't he respond to him in the same way? He felt like he could intimidate me because I was a woman, or maybe he didn't like a woman telling him what was what. And so that was another interesting experience. Now, what makes this even more interesting is that about 4 hours later, Brett, who was in charge of our local blood drive, called him and said, hey, you want to donate some blood? What did he do? He went and donated some blood. So no matter what had happened, he was okay dealing with what had happened in the meeting. He was okay dealing with how he treated me, and okay with Brett just saying, hey, come donate some blood. So there's a little bit of disparity in how sometimes our male colleagues treat us and how we respond back to them. And that's just a few of the things that I wanted to show to you about gender bias. In fact, some of the leadership behaviors are attributed to masculine traits like assertiveness, competitiveness, dominance, independence, self-reliance. They are considered masculine. And so this creates an internal conflict in women who have to have some leadership skills and have take on those male traits, and also women being a woman and having to carry the female traits as well, which are a lot of the soft skills, which are really good and profitable for a business, which are collaboration, communication, and cooperation. So to be accepted as a leader, women have to navigate between two different sets of expectations. And so realizing that in a business setting is really important for all of us. So what can we do? What can we do cumulatively? What can you do individually out there? You need to explore your own biases and your own assumptions about things. Now that doesn't mean it's an overt sense of bias. It could be, and most of the times is unconscious. So do you value the contributions of your workforce equally right now? Are you hesitant to hire or promote a young person with a lot of great skills, a young female, even and as they're amply qualified to do things because they may be in the childbearing years? So that might mean they might be away from the workplace. Do you avoid giving female employees tough assignments because we assume they might not be able to handle it, and of course they can't work late because they've got to get home? And then how do we handle them when we actually have to have some peer performance reviews? Do we sugarcoat what we say to them because we don't want to hurt their feelings? therefore not giving them good positive feedback so they know how to overcome the things that are challenges to them. So, and are we afraid that they're going to cry? Because a lot of the time, a lot of the things, and when I've talked to gentlemen and males about business owners, about their female employees, that's one of the things, I just don't want to make them cry. So don't really give them positive, I don't give them the feedback that they need because I don't want to deal with that emotional stuff going on. So the first thing we need to do is stop making assumptions and check for our own unconscious and conscious biases. And even if it's in our hiring managers that are doing it or ourselves, we should institute pay transparency so that women are getting equal pay for the equal amount of work. We also need to figure out the way, are we treating our male colleagues the same way as we're treating our female colleagues? Do we tend to act a little differently with them? And are we giving them feedback and not handicapping them by not giving them the truth? Understanding that sometimes women cry isn't because their feelings are hurt, it's because they're angry and frustrated, and that's how they sometimes exhibit their signs. And where men will just get angry and call them names. So that sometimes happens. The second thing that we need to understand about women in the workplace is self-care. Women often hold themselves back because they underestimate their value and their own abilities. They lack confidence at times, and it's because of history of being shot down and a lot of different things that happen. They also have risk aversion. They don't want to stir the waters. If things are going well, they're feeling work-life balance pressure. They want to avoid being the lone wolf, the one woman at the top, and don't feel comfortable in that position. Often women tend to be more agreeable than men. So that means that they take on tasks or roles that they're always volunteering for things. And so sometimes we call that office household work, where they're going to take notes, get coffee, go pick up the donuts, plan the office party. And most of that work is time consuming, is done behind the scenes, so they never really get any accolades for it. Men always tend to pick the things that make them most visible. The things they're going to volunteer for are the things in which they're most visible. It's very interesting. Data has shown us that when women and men go in for their performance reviews with their employers, that during that time, if an employer were just to say, hey, you're doing fine, you're doing great, don't have any complaints, and leave the room, then a man will come out of that room going, yeah, I just nailed it. And a woman will come out and go, he just said I did fine. Did I do fine? Why didn't he say I do excellent? They always question themselves. They're very critical of themselves. And so it's an interesting way, and we have to kind of think about that when we do our performance reviews with our employees. So what can be done? Employers, because of this, and women do underestimate their abilities, if you do see somebody stand up and shine in business, you want to make sure that they have the ability to have some leadership opportunities, provide those through training, have conversations about advancement. And when you see men talk over a woman in a boardroom, I hope that you'll stop and make sure that that woman gets her voice heard in that situation. And I think it's really important for women. You need to clearly communicate and consistently communicate your desire to advance. Don't shrink, don't stand up to the table and be heard, and make sure that you're taking those opportunities. Number 3, and I'll have to be kind of quick here, but there's limitations to access. A lot of the networking that goes on in a business is done after hours, and it might entail golf, sports games, after-hour drinks. And sometimes women are left out of those situations, so they don't get the important time to network in those situations. So one of the things that you guys can do, and every one of us can do, is make sure women invite men to your social events, men invite your women to the social events in your business. Make sure that you're having a camaraderie with them and giving them opportunity to network equally. So if you see those disparities, please do something about it. I would share a story about that there are so few women mentors because of the lack of leadership, the leadership vacuum at high levels. It's really hard for women to have mentors that'll help give them the advice and the things to bring them up. So men, it's important for you, if you are decision maker, that if you see somebody who's shining brightly, that you take an opportunity to mentor them and lead them into areas in which they can be promoted. Now, one of the unique things that women have to face are lifestyle choices. We often feel the need to make a choice between our professional success and our personal fulfillment. And we worry about our balance. We worry about our caregiver, breadwinner status, and we also worry about our family choices when it comes to business. And most of the time when a woman becomes a breadwinner in the family, they're also the primary caregiver. And that's not always true when the men are the breadwinners. They're very rarely a caregiver in the family. So understanding those unique roles that women have, in addition to being in their workspace, you need to understand that's something that's often difficult and hard for women to handle a lot of those different things, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't have the opportunity to do it. So what do we need to do? Just by understanding those complex issues, we need to find ways of being flexible in our job, maybe flexible hours, maybe job sharing going on. Even COVID has shown us that even working from home can be very effective, and that those might be things that we can do in our business place. And kind of a new thing that's going on is a lot of businesses are offering paternity to the men in the group when the wife has a baby. And that might move us along the spectrum to when women aren't giving up that vital time if men are taking the same opportunities to take some time off and be part of that parenting role as well. So there may be a few of you in this room go, why does any of this matter? I mean, we've been getting along fine. Why does this really matter? Well, there are many reasons that this matters. If trends don't change soon, that wage gap will never be equalized until the year 2059. Okay, 2059. That means generations of women in your life, your wives, your daughters, your granddaughters, and so on, will be affected by this. And they may one day find themselves in the position of having to be the breadwinner in their family through divorce, through death of a spouse, or through other means that they become the breadwinner. And so this really makes a difference when women are doing the same amount of work for a fraction of the pay that a man is doing that same job for. So but recognizing those things really is helpful. Another thing that I want to point out is according to the recent studies, and there's a lot of data on this, and I would encourage you to look it up, that in recent years, there's an increasing evidence that women in executive positions who are on corporate boards have a positive impact on the company's performance. A more diverse C-suite, these studies conclude, is connected to higher margins, bigger profits, and better total return to the shareholders. So bottom line is, it's profitable for you to have women in executive positions, and the more diversity, the better, because there's a more broad spectrum when it comes to looking at who your clients are. I think I've just really merely scratched the surface right now of all the things that I could have talked about today. This should be a full day seminar, really. For every one of my experiences personally, and I only shared a few of them today, there are millions more from a lot of women, and I'm sure a lot of women in this room right now could tell a lot of them themselves. But your willingness to recognize that gender bias still exists, whether it's unconscious or conscious, the willingness to understand that there is a void in management in women, and whether or not you understand there's a wage gap is really important. We can start by making meaningful changes in our businesses today, and that'll start with each one of you in order to make these changes happen. Everyone needs to be on board. It's not just a women's issue, it's all of our issues. I think Susan B. Anthony successfully summed it up well when she said, "The day will come when men will recognize women as his peer, not only at the fireside, but in the councils of the nation. And then, and not until then, we will be a perfect comradeship, the ideal union between the sexes that shall result in the highest development of the race." And I give a big amen to that. Thank you for your time. And I would like, if anyone is interested, I'd like to be able to create a focus group that gets a little bit more information and getting a little bit more feedback from people here in the Valley. And if you guys are interested in that, I would love for you to reach out and talk a little bit more about that. I think that's something we can work out in our Valley, and we'd like to see some progress made that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming today. It's been a great day and a great meeting. And we'll see you all next month on the third Tuesday. Enjoy. Have a great day.